Hi, I'm Dr. Elliot Adam from ElliotOracle.com. I'm also the author of the award-winning Fearless Tarot, How to Give a Positive Reading in Any Situation, which is available now from Llewellyn Books. I'm also the author of the upcoming Tarot in Love, Consulting the Cards and Matters of the Heart, which is now available for pre-order on Amazon. I want to start out a monthly series of tarot scopes where I'm going to pull some cards for each astrological sign, starting with Aries and ending with Pisces. And to get the most out of these readings, you might also want to know what your moon sign is and your rising sign is, and there'll be some little timestamps on the bottom of the screen which you can quickly go to your astrological sign with. So without further ado, let's start with the astrological sign of Aries. The first card I'm going to pull for Aries is where it's best for them to place their focus this next month. And we actually get the Hangman card. The Hangman can indicate that this is a time of making sacrifices for Aries. You might be letting go of an old identity or an old outworn way of life. The Hangman represents a necessary but temporary period of discomfort. You can see him here, he's hanging upside down, and that can't be very comfortable, and yet his face is neutral. And as he's hanging upside down, all the energy is pooling to his head, and it's starting to glow. And this is indicating that the upheaval that Aries might be going through this next month is actually going to lead to a lot of insight and wisdom. And the sacrifices that Aries makes this next month are going to pay off. The second card is advice from your inner wisdom if you're an Aries. And the card we actually get is the High Priestess herself. She's a card of intuition. In fact, the High Priestess is the personification for the power of your intuitive, deeper self. You can see that she's seated in front of an ocean that's obscured by a cloth decorated with pomegranate fruit, which is the fruit of the underworld. And what this shows is that the High Priestess is the guardian of death, rebirth, and change. And sometimes our fear of those things can obscure our own depth, just like that cloth is obscuring the ocean behind the High Priestess. And yet she has access to this. For Aries, you need to know that you need to trust your inner instincts and intuition this next month. It is going to guide you out of any trouble, just like an infallible compass. And so it's just important that you're really getting quiet, listening within, and trusting those instincts. The next astrological sign we're going to go into is Taurus. So if you're a Taurus or have a Taurus moon or Taurus rising, this will be your message. So first card for Taurus is what it's best to place your focus on this next month. And we actually get the Six of Cups. And this is a card of the past in the tarot. It has to do with happy memories. In fact, this card is showing a happy memory of a little girl on it. So this could be a time where Taurus is looking back at the past. It might be a time to reconnect with people from the past. And also this card tells you to remember what makes you happy or what made you happy in the past. Because if you can remember that, you can find your way back to it again. The advice from your inner wisdom, if you're a Taurus, is the Nine of Pentacles. It's a very Taurian card. It's very luxurious. And usually the Nine of Pentacles represents wealth, security, or stability. The woman on the Nine of Pentacles is flanked by two pets. She's got a falcon in her hand, which is hooded. And normally the falcon is a symbol for speed, but she's restraining it. So this could indicate that this is a time to coil your energy back, get prepared for something that's coming up, and wait for the right time to act on it, especially if it affects your finances, your security, your money, or your sense of self-esteem. But she's also got that little snail in the bottom of the card, and the snail can represent slow movement. So this could be a time for Taurus where slow and steady really does win the race. And your success is going to be assured if you're methodical and practical, and if you don't just rush toward your prey, but instead really wait for the right time to act. The third astrological sign we're going into is Gemini. So if you're a Gemini or have a Gemini moon or Gemini rising, this is your message. And where it's best to place your focus, Gemini, this next month is the King of Swords. And the King of Swords, for me, is a rather rigid figure. You can see him on his throne, which is decorated with butterflies, which are normally symbols of transformation, but they're frozen in stone. And the King of Swords can just represent something that's really intransigent, really stuck, kind of recalcitrant. And so this could be a period where you're really having some difficulties with some rules, some structures. Maybe it's something imposed upon you from the outside world. And yet, when we see the King of Swords, it really does tell you, follow the rules. Dot all your I's, cross all your T's. This is really going to help you succeed. And King of Swords can also be a card of laying down the law, putting down boundaries, being very clear or direct with other people. So I feel like balance is going to occur for Gemini if they're very clear and outspoken about what it is they need. Advice from your inner wisdom, Gemini, is actually the Three of Pentacles. And this is a card of education, schooling, learning, perfecting a talent or a skill. And it actually shows a craftsman in a monastery. And he's being handed a set of plans by the monks. And if you look really closely at that piece of paper on the plans, there's actually drawn the very thing the craftsman is building. So I think for Gemini, this is going to be a time to plot out your plan, to get really clear on what it is that you want and start to manifest it. You might have to follow a lot of rules to make this happen, but success is going to be assured over time. And also anything that has to do with learning, growing, stretching into something you're not familiar with, that's going to be super helpful for Gemini. Next, we got the astrological sign of Cancer. So if you're a Cancer, where you should place your focus this next month is actually the Ace of Pentacles. And aces in a tarot reading are really good to get. They're just like getting aces in a poker game. And when we see the Ace of Pentacles, there's this opportunity that is going to be presented to Cancer. And what you want to do is take up that opportunity. However, it's not always so easy with the Ace of Pentacles. You can see that there's this little gateway, and in the distance is a mountain. And that's implying that ahead on your path, Cancer, there's an opportunity, but also an obstacle attached to it. However, if you can climb that mountain and stake your flag into the top of it, you are going to be so successful. So this Ace of Pentacles is really heralding some new financial beginnings. And also, Pentacles don't always have to do with money. Sometimes they have to do with our sense of self-worth or self-esteem. So this could be a time when you're really stepping into your self-esteem, you're meeting the challenge in front of you, and you're overcoming it. The advice from your inner wisdom, if you're a Cancer, is the Moon card, which is such a Cancerian card. They're ruled by the Moon. The Moon, much like the High Priestess, is a card of trusting your instincts. The Moon in Latin is called Luna, where in English we get our word lunatic from. So the meaning of the Moon card is if you ignore the things that are really pulling at you from beneath the surface, it can start to make you feel crazy, unlucky, like things aren't working out. And so for Cancer, this might be a time to stop struggling against a reality, an inner truth, and really trust those instincts and move forward anyway. Do what it is you know you need to do, especially if it makes you leave your comfort zone and go toward your best opportunity. Next, we got the astrological sign of Leo. So if you're a Leo or have a Leo moon, this is going to be the message for you. First card for Leo is where it's best to place your focus, and we get the Four of Pentacles. And this is a card sometimes of seeking security and all the things that don't really provide security. We got a miser on this card who's clutching the 4 coins close to himself, but when you look at his face, he's actually miserable. And so this card can really indicate that it's time to take a mental inventory of everything you're carrying on your path and ask yourself, do I even need this? Is this even important to me anymore? Also, the other meaning of the Four of Pentacles is that it might be time to be very conservative on a financial level. So you might not want to spend a lot this next month. You might want to pinch your pennies. Advice from your inner wisdom, if you pick Leo, or if you are a Leo, it's actually the Eight of Swords. Now, the Eight of Swords can indicate a fear that might be gripping you, might feel like it's a bit paralyzing. On the Eight of Swords, we see this damsel in distress. She's waiting for someone to come and save her, but nobody's coming. And the meaning of this card and the advice from your inner wisdom, Leo, is that you need to save yourself. You got to stop waiting for another person to acknowledge your gift and show you who you are and what you are. The woman on this card looks trapped, but she's flanked by these swords. They're literally inches away from her. And all she'd have to do is cut the bindings against the sharp swords next to her, and she could be free. So the meaning of the Eight of Swords is always to stand up to the fear that's keeping you bound up in knots and to free yourself. Repurpose your thoughts, the swords, that were once these implements for your suffering. Repurpose them to be the tools of your liberation. This is what's really going to help you this next month. And next we go into the astrological sign of Virgo. So if you're a Virgo or Virgo moon or Virgo rising, first card is where it's best to place your focus. And we actually get the King of Wands. The King of Wands is a card of competency. And when we see the King of Wands in a reading, he says that you survived the trials by fire, and you need to trust yourself, Virgo. The King of Wands is also accompanied by his little lizard that's near his throne, which can literally take the heat. So this might be a time for Virgo where you've been pushing, struggling, striving, surviving all the trials by fire, and yet you remain. And yet you have all this competency, this ability, this mastery and wisdom. The King of Wands can also indicate that if you don't know which direction to move into, it would be a good idea to speak to an advisor, somebody who's really wise or who understands your situation and can offer some guidance, because the King of Wands is always the wise counselor of the tarot. Advice from your inner wisdom, if you pick Virgo, is the Seven of Cups. This is a card of illusion and imagination. And you see this fog that's covering the card. It's covering this figure's dream sequence. And out of the fog are the 7 cups, and out of each cup are these different objects that are appearing. Some of them are wonderful, like jewels and crowns, and some of them are a little scary, like dragons and snakes. And what this represents is that when we can't see the path in front of us clearly, well, sometimes our imagination kicks in, and we will start projecting the best case scenario or the worst case scenario on the path ahead, and neither are true. And so I feel for Virgo that it's important this month to stand up to illusions and to move forward anyway, despite your fear, and also not let your hopes even get out of control. Don't start thinking, well, everything's just going to fall into place perfectly because I'm willing it to be so. It's really important that you get the facts and the information first, especially with that King of Wands, but most importantly, do trust yourself. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Libra. So if you're a Libra or have a Libra moon or Libra rising, first card is where it's best to place your focus. We actually get the Tower card. And despite the destructive imagery of the Tower, for me, it's one of the most healing cards in the tarot. I write a lot about it in Fearless Tarot. The Tower is asking you to step out of something you're in denial about. The prisoners in the Tower are getting cast out, but they were prisoners of their own making. They stayed in the Tower so long, and they told themselves these little lies that nothing's happening outside, I'm not feeling anything, everything's fine. And with each bit of denial they give themselves, that Tower gets taller, brick by brick by brick. And eventually with the Tower, there is that symbol of the lightning bolt that comes in and casts the people out of their illusion. And so for Libra, I feel like the things that are falling away from you, the things that don't feel important anymore for you, are meant to be. They're meant to be swept away. And it's important that you come back down to earth and down to nature, especially your nature, and you get back in touch with what's authentic for you. And so I do feel like anything that is getting cleared out right now, you no longer need. And although this might be a shaky time emotionally, might be triggering some anxiety for you if you're a Libra, it's important that you know that once the storm is weathered, the sun will come out again. Advice from your inner wisdom, if you pick or if you are a Libra, is actually the 10 of Pentacles. And this is a reassuring card. For Libra, this tells you to trust in what's stable, what your long-term plan is for security. The 10 of Pentacles is also a card of having an eye on the long game. So despite the upheaval that you might be experiencing at this time, it doesn't last forever. And that 10 of Pentacles is also a card of really focusing on whatever your legacy is. So if you're a Libra and you have a project or something you're trying to accomplish, 10 of Pentacles says it's time to put it into action. And it's also time to connect with family, your chosen family, your community. You're going to get a lot of security and support there. And I just feel like this 10 of Pentacles is really going to anchor Libra through this month of July with that Tower card. Next, we're going to go into the Scorpio sign. So Scorpio, the best thing to place your focus on this next month is actually the Knight of Wands. And he represents trying something new. He's a card of foreign places, foreign ideas, new beginnings. This could be a time of travel as well, a wonderful time to travel for Scorpio. But the Knight of Wands is saying it's time to go on an adventure. It's time to try something new. If something hasn't been working up until this point, well, now it's time to switch gears and put your focus on something different. And also, all knights in the tarot, well, with the exception of the Knight of Pentacles, can represent forward movement. So this could be a time when you're galloping on to the next opportunity. Advice from your inner wisdom, if you're a Scorpio, is actually the Three of Swords. And this is a card, for me, of addressing wounds to the heart. It's an important time to heal. This could be a time where you go away for a bit, retreat, in order to get clear on your own feelings. The heart on the Three of Swords would be floating above the clouds and rejoining the sunlight if not for those heavy swords. And the swords can represent old wounds to the heart, old challenges that you might be carrying around with you. And so the Three of Swords can just indicate for Scorpio, it's time to remove the swords from the heart. It's time to face what's been hurting you and let it go. Stop letting that be the thing that dictates where your path is able to go. And then the Three of Swords as a wisdom card is just saying that there's great wisdom in taking the time to nurture yourself and heal your heart. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Sagittarius. So where it's best for Sagittarius to place their focus this next month is on work. It might be a time to focus on your work, on a long-term goal or a plan. The Seven of Pentacles shows this figure who's working in the field, but he's taking a break from the work and he's noticing that the crop he's growing isn't quite ready for harvest yet, but it is on the right track. And so the Seven of Pentacles for Sagittarius can indicate that the seeds of your goals are growing. It may not be time to cash in on them, but you just need to be patient. And again, have an eye on the long game. Advice from your inner wisdom, if you are a Sagittarius, is actually the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords can sometimes be defensive. He's got this sword that's upraised as if he's ready for an attack. The Page of Swords is also extremely intelligent and a master at rationalizing. So for Sagittarius, this might be a time where you're not just jumping to your own defense or jumping to rationalize something or even jumping to kind of keep somebody back, but instead lower the defenses, be even more vulnerable, be more open to what's coming your way. There might also be a breakthrough that could happen for your work situation or for something that brings value to you if you can lower your defenses and be vulnerable enough to ask for help. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Capricorn. So if you're a Capricorn or have a lot of Capricorn in your chart, first card is where it's best to place your focus. And we actually get the Five of Swords reversed. And when I see the Five of Swords reversed, it's really a card of getting organized in your thinking. Five of Swords can represent feeling overwhelmed, so many things going on at the same time. And it's important for you to pace yourself, to pick up one thing at a time, to really put your focus on what's number one priority. Well, let's put that first. And then these other things can sort of fall by the wayside for the moment. So for Capricorn, this might be a time when there's just a lot on your plate. There's a lot to do. And what you're going to need to do is really get organized in your thinking and come up with a priority list of what's most important for you. That's going to be really helpful for you in sailing through all the projects that are on your desk. Next, we're going to go into the advice from your inner wisdom if you're a Capricorn. And we actually get the Strength card. And Strength is reminding you, Capricorn, that you're strong. The woman on the Strength card is taming the lion. And the lion represents things that are out of control in your life. And the woman represents your higher self. And she's just gently taming the lion. She's not at war with it. So for Capricorn, it's important that you're reining in the thing that's been running amok in your head, in your heart. And know that you can handle this if you apply your spirit or your higher self. So the Strength card is just telling you to allow spirit to choose your moves. If you do that, you're going to win the game. Next, we're going to go into the astrological sign of Aquarius. So first for Aquarius, where is it best to place your focus this next month? And we get the King of Pentacles card. And King of Pentacles is a very practical card. He really also has an eye on the long game. The King of Pentacles is also very loving and nurturing, though, for what it is he's trying to grow. Of all the tarot cards in the Smith-Waite deck, he is the only one who's also entrusted with the scepter of the Empress. She's the only card who shows that scepter. And so this really does show this divine masculine energy of being able to let something flourish. And this might be a time as well to really fight for what it is you're trying to accomplish. The King of Pentacles wears armor underneath his robes, just like the Emperor card. So this is a time to be bold, to go for things, but to blend that, aggressive energy of making something happen or going for it with some of that nurturing, receptive Empress energy as well. Both are going to be needed for you to be successful, Aquarius. Advice from your inner wisdom is actually the Three of Wands. And this card says, despite your worst fears, nothing's been screwed up at all. Your life is still wide open and waiting, and the future is going to depend on your choices. Three of Wands is just showing this figure who's looking out over this expanse, and the future is wide open and waiting for him. So this might be an important time for you, Aquarius, to be reminded that the future is just open to you. And whatever choices you're going to want to make right now are really going to lead to positive change. The glowing orange waters the figure's looking over represents sunrise or sunset. So the sun is setting on one phase of your life, but it's also rising on the next. And it looks exciting. So you do want to be bold and nurturing, but you also want to be open to what awaits you. And finally, we got the astrological sign of Pisces. And for Pisces, where is it best to place your focus? We actually get the Knight of Cups, the messenger of love, a very Piscean card. For Pisces, the month of July is really going to be focused on relationships, connections, but also communicating your feelings. You know, the Knight of Cups, he wears the winged helmet and shoes of Mercury, the messenger god. And yet he's a cups card, he's an emotional card. And what he represents to me is having a difficult conversation, allowing your feelings to flow, articulating something that's been going on within your heart and being very clear about it and forthright. The Knight of Cups is also crossing the water boundary. So this might be time as well for Pisces where it's time to cross an emotional threshold. It's time to do it. Advice from your inner wisdom, if you're a Pisces, is actually the Nine of Cups. This card shows a merchant who set this table with 9 golden cups all in a row meticulously. And he's preparing for the upcoming banquet. And so for Pisces, I do think your wish is going to come true. I think your heart's desire is really on track for coming true. But you do have to make some preparations. You do have to get organized. And you also have to enjoy the banquet that's spread out before you. As Auntie Mame said, life is a banquet and most poor suckers are starving to death. I really think it's important for Pisces to know that your best opportunities are before you. And that is this month's Taroscope. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can always check me out at elliotoracle.com and schedule a tarot session with me there. I'm also going to be teaching a tarot masterclass at Tarotpalooza, which I will leave a link to, and you're going to want to get a ticket to that because space is limited. Otherwise, please follow me on my social media, especially Instagram, Elliot Oracle. And also, if you like this YouTube video, do subscribe and do check the bell so you get notifications. Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful, safe, happy month, and I will see you again next month for another Taroscope, so do take care.